Hi, I'm Pierce Turcotte from the Greeting Committee,
And we're screening on the spot.
and we're getting to know me through movies.
Yeah,
That was not good.
I thought it was perfect.
And you were good, but we were bad.
no,
It's fine.
we
We'll
were
just
off.
keep it. It's.
I'm
just not super confident that we nailed it on the first try, like you said we were going to.
think it's fine.
Okay.
I think it's fine too.
Somehow, even though I know what I'm supposed to say, as you guys say it, I somehow get confused
You
and
psyched yourself out.
I kind of mumble it. I'm like, we're screening on the spot.
I just looked at you and I started laughing.
Makes sense.
That's really what it
We're
was.
Okay.
rolling with it. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
enough about us. Pierce, thanks so much for doing this.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me.
You are in a band
I am in a band.
called the Greeting Committee,
Yes, we are called the Greeting Committee.
which is pretty exciting because you're an actual Kansas City band. I mean, like from Kansas City.
Oh yeah, me and Addie, the lead singer, actually live in Kansas City. We grew up in Overland Park, but now we can actually say we're from Kansas City.
Okay, that's okay. I live in Overland Park.
Yeah.
Most people from the suburbs say they're from Kansas City, though. I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of cheating, but
I know.
we'll allow it.
What
When
are you saying that someone like me, I'm from Overland Park? Does that mean I can't say I'm from
No,
Kansas
I'm
City?
saying most people do say Kansas City.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
When
I'm
we're
not gonna judge you
out
for
of
it.
the state, we'll just say Kansas
All right,
City.
I'm just saying that I'm no longer a Kansas City poser. I can actually say.
you live in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
in
I'm
Really?
the opposite.
Yeah.
I was in the city, and now I'm not anymore.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I'm still gonna say I live in Kansas City.
You're disowned.
Yeah, thanks.
So, how did you guys form the Greeting Committee?
Yeah, so we originally started in high school in Overland Park. We went to Blue Valley High School. And originally there was 4 of us, and we just all kind of met just by being high schoolers. I played in another very successful high school band. Unfortunately, they're broken up now. But we just kind of got talking. I played in marching band, so that's how they knew me from the music
What was
scene.
your instrument?
I was section leader. I played tenor saxophone.
Look
And
at
you
that
st-
fancy.
And you still play saxophone.
Dang.
I do still play saxophone.
In the band or just like sometimes?
In the band.
You are the sax player.
I'm not the sax
Okay.
player. It's just something I bring out that gets people very excited at one point in
Who
the show.
wouldn't?
Yeah.
Everybody needs more sax.
I know, right? I think there was a review from our last show. Someone commented that there was too much saxophone.
No way.
No.
No one
There's
says
no
that.
such thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
It is really funny because in the show that you had at the Uptown, there was
Mm-hmm.
the sax was a big deal. Like she asked if they wanted more sax, people cheered. So
I'm mad at anybody
Yeah.
that would say
Yeah.
otherwise. Okay, but besides the sax, like, what are you, lead singer, or are you?
No, yeah. Great question. So I mainly play bass in the band, so that's kind of my main job on stage. But recently, as we go through writing, I play guitar, piano. I got synthesizer. I can fake my way through probably a million other instruments. But when you see me on stage, I am the bass player.
cool.
But he can do it all.
But he
Yeah.
can
I
do it
can
all.
do it all.
Yeah.
You guys had a new album last year. Dandelion
Yeah,
was last year.
it was just about a year ago this month, I believe.
And then do you guys have plans for when the next album could be?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me get back to our lead singer once we start writing it.
Okay.
We do have a couple songs that I'm not sure when this will come out, but we'll put out a couple more singles this year just as like a nice way to tie up the end of this year, keep momentum going, and then we'll talk more album stuff next year.
Cool. Well, fun fact, this is a movie podcast, and you guys were actually in a movie.
Yeah.
It was one of the To All the Boys I've Loved Before movies on Netflix. It was the second one, I think?
The third installment.
The third installment,
Yes.
okay.
I've seen those.
Oh,
So-
you have.
I hadn't seen it because I'm probably not the target audience. Not that
Oh.
there,
I
there
don't
has
think
to
I am either, but they are
Yeah.
very fun movies.
And I just assumed, because I saw images and stuff, and I've heard the song, of course, and I assumed maybe you guys were just like in the background, but you're kind of like actually a big part of the scene.
Yeah, that was a funny occurrence, just like the whole coming together of that whole movie. But I mean, we filmed that beginning summertime of 2019, and so that movie didn't come out until February of 2021. And so it's like we filmed this, we are part of this really cool thing, but then they were like, maybe they'll cut us. Like, we have no idea what's going to happen to it. But yeah, I think I got a link to watch the movie a couple weeks before the movie actually came out. And I was just like, oh, we are in it.
Yeah.
Like, we are to give context, where Laura Jean is visiting some colleges. She's on a trip to New York City. she goes to NYU rooftop party, and she walks up onto this rooftop, and you see us on just with our instruments playing the song, just as like a kind of random rooftop college party.
Right.
I don't know, but
Yeah,
we're
we
front and
always
center.
had bands in our college.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We were those people.
But
What
it's
was-
NYU.
Yeah, it's-
Yeah.
Right now.
yeah.
How'd you get involved in that?
It was a connection with our record label, someone from the movies reaching out. We fit the sort of sound, the demographic of what they're looking for, and we're all early 20s at the time, so yeah, it just kind of worked out that
Was
way.
that your first time in a movie? before?
Oh yeah, probably won't be in one for a while longer, but yeah, it was a really incredible experience. We were just there in New York 2 days. We went visited the set, got our wardrobe, which is really just my own clothes.
Yeah. Nice.
But we started at 7 p.m., went until 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning because it's a nighttime scene. You got to use as much nighttime as you can. Yeah, it was a very late night, but it was yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Did you have to mime the instruments and stuff?
Oh yeah, so we had these very expensive, they told us, little earpieces. It's almost like they were able to transmit the audio that we're supposed to be playing to in our ears so we can play along.
Was it your own song?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
There were I think 3 or 4 songs. One I think was sort of the audition into the movie. There was a sort of theme song for the movie called Beginning, Middle, and End, which was written by another artist, but we recorded our own version, so it made sense for us to be playing onto this rooftop. Yeah, we just nothing was plugged in, obviously, and Addie the singer was just mouthing the words, and
but it wasn't off sync, so that's why you had to have.
yeah, no, we were locked in. It was
That's great.
yeah, it
I've
was
always wondered how people do that.
Yeah.
So now
Like
we
in
know.
music, they just
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
they
I
have
mean,
a song playing.
yeah.
Usually.
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, I think one of the behind the scenes things that I learned with drums, because usually drums are very loud.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And obviously they need to record the audio for any of the dialogue because we're still playing. All the drums they're obviously real drums, but like the cymbals and the snares, all the heads of the drums were all fake. So you hit it and it's just
Oh.
like, it's,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
I
which
was
would not sound like
they
in a
put
live.
towel
Yeah.
on them or something. They're just literally
Yeah.
like movie drums.
They're movie drums.
That's
You hit a
crazy.
cymbal and usually it's just loud
Yeah.
crashing
Yeah.
sound. And
Yeah.
it's just like hitting a, yeah.
It's like a fake sword in a movie, like
Oh, yeah.
like
Yeah.
some kind of like
That's
soft
cool.
plastic.
Yeah.
Or,
The drums
I
were
would say that.
what I didn't know about. So now you guys have a tour coming up.
We do. We are starting off in Nashville, opening up for this little festival thing going on there for an artist called, his name is Brisson Roney. And then we are kicking off a North American tour for the next, it's basically about a month. There's a
Okay.
small break in there, but about 20 shows.
And is there anywhere on the tour that you've never been or just somewhere you're excited to go?
Yeah, we played it before, but there's a small town in North Carolina called Carborough or Chapel Hill. It's just a small college town. Being on tour, we play a lot of bigger cities, Philly, New York, Chicago, which are really fun, but it's easy to get lost. And it's like you want to go somewhere fun, you have to take an Uber somewhere. College towns are just fun because you just walk around and you're just unlimited, and it's because everything's really condensed. It's a lot easier to see places. Other than that, though, we're going to Vancouver in Canada, as well as Toronto, but I've never been to Vancouver.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations on
Thank
all
you.
of the Greeting Committee success, being
Thank
in a
you.
movie, going
Thank
on
you.
tour, all the things. So now, I guess now we'll start asking you some questions to get to know you through movies.
Oh, of
He
course.
said he studied.
I did study. I went to a coffee shop this morning. I was like Googling, wait, what movies have I seen? So I make sure that I give as best educated. As
Uh-huh.
Do you feel like they were a big part of your life,
You know what?
or it's mostly music?
It's mostly music. I feel like I can be that person that is like, I've never seen that movie, or I wish I was more educated on more movies. I feel like I rewatch the same movies a lot.
That is totally okay
Yeah,
too.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone does that.
I always make plans to watch some movie I've never seen or some new movie, but then I'm like, but like Ghostbusters is right there, and I'll just watch that
It's
again.
safe.
Yeah.
We won't. How about this? We won't judge you on movies if you don't judge us on our music taste.
Okay, fair enough.
Because I have really bad music taste.
Chris does have really bad
He
music taste.
freely admits that, which is so funny to me.
Because I'm sitting next to Sarah,
Yeah.
who she'll tell you anything.
Well,
you
I
need
know.
to
I was just kind of like, you said we, and I'm like, I don't feel like
don't include
we as a collective have bad movie taste.
That's
Or
true.
music
I'm
taste,
just
but
over here
you
by myself.
do.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll start talking about movies now.
Yeah, throw it at me.
And now, what's the first movie you remember seeing in a theater?
Oh my gosh. I would say I don't think I went to the movies a whole lot as a kid, but I do remember going to see. It was funny because we're talking about the second episode of Star Wars before this. But I remember going to see that specifically at the beginning. People were clapping at the beginning of the movie, and I thought it was so strange. I was like, "Who?"
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody clap at the beginning of a movie.
That's why.
But yeah, I must have. I don't remember how old I was. I think the first movie came out in, I think 99.
99?
Yeah, I think 2003 or something must have been.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I was 4.
Oh man.
No. 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still, that's a good first
Yeah.
movie though. Star Wars in general, because the experience is going to be pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Well, what's a movie you probably saw way too young?
I feel like I saw some scary movies. I couldn't remember the name of it, but I remember seeing it because specifically when we lived in Sacramento, I would just like wander around the house all the time. Usually my parents told me go upstairs, but then I would come back downstairs. And there's one movie in particular I remember just being like, I've watched it like a few years ago now being an adult, and it's not that scary, but I forget the name of it, but the one that initially came to mind was Fast and Furious.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think there's just some moments in it that I think back now, I was like, I was a little too young to
Yeah.
see some of that, but it was I still remember loving that movie.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite movie soundtrack?
Movie soundtrack. I don't necessarily know if there's a favorite movie, but there's actually a video game I really like, which they're making into an HBO series called The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The main guy who did it, his name is Gustavo Santaolalla, I believe, and he's done a bunch of other soundtracks. I think he's just an amazing Latin American guitarist.
Mm-hmm.
I also really love. I'll probably talk about it a lot. Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's
Yeah. That is a good soundtrack.
very like sentimental. It's just honestly a lot of ambient music.
Yeah.
And then they have some great just like pop songs throughout it. But yeah, those are some of my favorite soundtracks.
Well, in The Last of Us, the series, it's like Kansas City is going to be like the backdrop of the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
They announced that fairly recently, which is pretty cool. Like they came here to shoot the skyline and stuff.
Oh, but then
So-
manipulate it in a
Well, yeah, probably.
make it look like it's
Right.
falling apart.
Yeah, probably. But it's still cool, to try to catch that when you watch it.
Yeah. No, I obviously John Williams for like all the Star Wars, Indiana Jones,
Mhm.
E.T.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, he's amazing, and I feel like as an also being a musician, I feel like that is such a cool way to like get inspired to write my own stuff. Because it is. I mean, it's still music, but it's a different format, and it's just like is inspiring in a very different way. With movies and soundtracks, there's a visual element tied to it that I feel like is very like evocative of like, oh, like I had this very specific feeling. Can I capture that in writing that into a more pop song versus like turning those like ambient swelly parts of Perks of Being a Wallflower into like can I write like a teenage bop hit like that? Something that makes me feel that. So.
Well, on a similar note, what's your favorite needle drop in a movie?
Favorite needle drop? Just because I mentioned Perks of Being a Wallflower, but I think I've seen this in several movies, but Heroes by David Bowie is such like just a very classic song. And I mean, I feel like it's always a worthy mention to do. It's at the end of Fight Club. It's Where's My Mind?
Yeah.
That's just a classic.
It is a classic. That's a good choice.
I saw them in concert. It was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Oh, but during my research, I was like, what other great needle drops are there? Hallelujah at the end of Shrek.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good choice.
yeah.
Or even the I'm a Believer. You
Oh,
even
yeah.
that,
Yeah, there you go.
I'm a big Monkees fan, so that was always really cool when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping you would say your own song in To All the Boys I've Loved Before.
Oh my gosh.
It might maybe I didn't
No.
actually expect you to. There was a part of me that was hoping. What do you think is your most memorable movie going experience?
I'd say when I saw Star Wars Episode 3.
Okay.
That was the first time I remember actually like, waiting in line with like my parents to go see a movie. It was just at I think it's closed now, but a movie theater in Overland Park.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoy going to, there's a movie theater in North Kansas City called Screenland Armor.
Yeah, I love Screenland.
Yeah, it's just, I think I went for the first time around Halloween time last year, or maybe a year before that, to see Rocky Horror Picture Show.
That's awesome.
And that's just like a perfect venue to see that.
Totally.
Just because it has a very like DIY sort of movie theater feel. But then the people coming out to see Rocky Horror are just like the most eccentric people you'd ever
Totally.
meet. And it's
Yeah.
just like really amplifies that
Nobody's
experience.
just going to see Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
Right,
They're
right.
the people that have seen it 30 times and are going to quote the movie and
Oh yeah,
dress
there's
up and
the secret
yeah.
script, if you've heard of that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, where people were like screaming along with it. And I mean, I knew nothing of it, but I was just like sitting there in awe of the
Yeah.
whole experience. And honestly, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I don't think Rocky Horror is a very good movie.
Well, it's kind of known for being more of like a cult
Sure.
classic,
Yeah.
you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's a movie I grew up watching and probably watched too young, especially because of the like,
Oh yeah.
you know,
the sexual
You know,
totally.
now that I think about it, I mean, I was really into it in high school because if you're a high school theater kid, that's what you're into.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I've seen it since, and I probably have no idea what it's about. Like,
Really?
I probably need to go back and watch it and be like, oh, that's what I was watching? Okay, cool.
I
There-
watched it for the first time last year, and my wife, she was a theater person, and so she was singing every single
Yeah.
word, and I'm like, what did I just watch?
know,
I
I
really
really-
like
did I
it, and
pay
it's
attention
become
to
like
the
a
plot?
Halloween kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, it is a very interesting.
Yeah, I'm not even sure
movie
what the
for sure.
plot.
Right.
Like, I mean, I know I've seen it a million
I'm like,
times,
is he an
but
alien,
I don't
or
know.
like what's
Yeah,
happening
I need
here?
to revisit that.
Yeah, but I like it.
Yes, I just remember having strong feelings for Tim Curry because I didn't
Yeah.
realize and
Yeah.
understand. And
What are
but
these feelings?
yeah, exactly. I was very, like I said, I was very young.
Was there a movie that made you cry all the time?
Me and my girlfriend talk about this a lot, but I do not cry a lot. Yeah.
They make fun of me for that because I'm not much of a crier.
Really?
Yeah.
I get made fun of a lot, but
I feel like I need to reserve my tears for certain movies
fair.
or
yeah. Right.
moments in
That's a good way to
Mm-hmm.
say it. I mean, I'm not just over here crying at Star is Born like all
Yeah.
the time.
It was sad.
There is a TV show called The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite TV shows. I'll watch every year, every other year. Beautifully like directed, and but there's this scene where it's the dead sister's ghost kind of comes back. Which is kind of a funny concept, the idea of like being sad. It's like it's a scary show, but it's like the episode ends and she's like, nobody can see me. And it's like, I've been here the whole time. And it's like kind of, I mean, she's a ghost and everyone's like looking for her. And it's this flashback from
Yeah.
when she was a kid and no one could see her because of some weird paranormal thing. But now she's like actually dead and like no one can see her. And the idea of that makes me like really sad. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh no, no one can see her. I could see you. I don't know.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
What movies do you quote the most?
I don't like quoting movies.
No.
Oh, really?
I have such a bad memory.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair then.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Star Wars is like kind of comes to mind, but no, my girlfriend will quote movies all the time. I'm like, how do you remember
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Some people have a knack for it.
Sometimes she's quoting things from, like, I don't even know she's quoting it from. She likes a lot of just like those 80s, 90s rom-coms.
Sure.
So.
That's really frustrating when you're quoting a movie and you're waiting for somebody to like pick up on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure she gets frustrated with you all the time. She's
Yeah, I'm
like,
like,
"That's
huh?
from the movie quote. Like, did you not
Yeah.
Yeah.
get what I was putting down there?"
Mine's the opposite. Is my wife knows it's from a movie and she's like, "Yeah, Justin, I got it."
Yeah.
Sorry. What's a classic or widely successful movie that maybe you just didn't get?
I was thinking about this, but my girlfriend shows me a lot of Audrey Hepburn movies.
Oh, okay.
Never really got into those. They're just cheesy.
Yeah.
There's not really much plot. They're like, I think one was with I forget. I think it's the long trailer, I believe. I don't think that's Audrey Hepburn, but it's with Lucille Ball and her husband at the time. I'm blanking, but it's basically they're just driving cross country in a very long trailer, and it's just, oh my gosh, it's a really long trailer. They're running things over, and trying to go up a really steep mountain, and it's just very like, gimmicky and funny.
Sure.
I mean, it is. I feel like objectively just a silly movie, but I just never really got into it.
Yeah, that's fair. We've talked about that a lot before. Certain old movies, especially comedies, can be kind of tough because, I don't know, the humor is just not the same, and a lot of things were silly and slapsticky. And if you don't get into that, then it's not going to connect.
On the reverse side, is there a movie that you really like and you'll always defend, but it's not very good?
Oh yeah, I feel like a lot of movies. Kind of going into like the cult classics. I think two movies come to mind. Wet Hot American Summer.
Yes,
Yeah,
I love that
get
movie.
that one.
I love that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think I watch it now and I'm like, yeah, I get why it might not be the funniest movie. I think I showed it to my girlfriend and my girlfriend's mom for watching it because we'll have dinners on Sunday nights and watch a movie every now and then. And yeah, I was like, oh wait, watching it by myself is funny, but I think like waiting for people's reactions, like, isn't this funny? And I'm like, oh wait, maybe not. And then I think there's some Adam Sandler movies that don't necessarily hold up, but I came out a couple years ago. It's called Hubie Halloween.
Yeah.
Oh,
I still haven't watched that. I really
I
want
do.
to.
I've talked about it before, but I'll kind of defend it. I do like Hubie Halloween a lot. And
Yeah.
it's ridiculous and it's silly, and like I don't know why he has to do the voice, but I love it, and I rewatched it last Halloween, and I still enjoy it.
I feel like there are some Adam Sandler movies that I think people like to bash on some like current Adam Sandler movies just because there are just I think kind of repetitive, but I think he found like an awesome sort of niche, and they're silly and they're cheesy, but they're kind of like heartwarming in some ways, and it's feels
comforting.
it's very safe kind of movie. And Hubie Halloween specifically captures a very like, I love Halloween, and that kind of captures it in a nice way.
What's a movie that you were really excited to see only to be very disappointed?
I was having a hard time thinking about this one. I don't go into movies with very high expectations most of the time. Maybe some of the more recent Star Wars. Yeah, I usually have low expectations of
fair.
movies.
I need to do that. I need to just bring my expectations for every movie that I see down a notch, because I go in with very high expectations, and I'm just like,
yeah, like how much like information or like experience can you provide in 2 hours? I think I have higher expectations for TV shows because
What
I'm
are some
investing.
of your favorite TV shows?
Oh, some of my favorite TV shows. Let's see. Watching obviously like Game of Thrones. I think the new stuff right now. Some of my favorite TV shows would be Narcos, kind of 80s Colombian drug cartel. Just some great actors in it, and I love Colombian history. So
Cool.
yeah.
What's a classic or successful movie you're embarrassed to have never seen?
I've never seen The Godfather, but I'm not that embarrassed to not have seen that.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that movie?
Yes, but only recently, actually. It was a pandemic movie for me.
Again, yes, I'm kind of in the same boat there. My husband actually started watching it, so I was dipping in and out because we just had a baby. So that was my first time seeing it, and I didn't even watch it all the way through.
Yeah. I feel like I've been going back and watching for the first time those like 80s. Like I just saw Harry Met Sally, I think last year. You've Got Mail with Tom Hanks. I think I just recently saw that movie, and so that's really that whole genre that I'm still experimenting with. I look back at some of the movies I grew up watching, and there are definitely some movies I wish I hadn't wasted my time on, and I think wasting time is very subjective, but I just think back, it's like, why did I watch all those Transformer movies?
That's fair. Well, what's the last new movie you watched?
Last new movie I just saw, the movie Pearl. It's like a kind of a thrilling.
Yeah.
How
thriller.
was that? I really.
It was good. Yeah.
How was it compared to X?
You know what? I had never saw X.
What are we
I had
Oh,
no,
that's so funny.
It's the new Ty West horror series,
it's a
I
horror
guess.
movie?
Yeah.
I don't know.
X
Okay.
came out last year, and then now Pearl is like a prequel to X.
Right.
Okay,
It
so
was-
you still enjoyed it even though you haven't seen X.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It was just. I didn't find it terribly scary. It was more beautiful than anything. I'd say beautiful, thrilling. Yeah, it was just a 1918 era. Husband's off at war, and I have very broad range of emotions and start killing people, kind of thing.
That tends to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was part of it was an A24 movie, and I feel like I've been on slowly kind of going through a lot of A24 movies. There's
Nice.
another movie called Marcel the Shell.
Yes,
Oh.
I really want to see that.
Yeah, it was very cute.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't cry
Got
in
really
that.
good reviews too.
Yeah, I did not cry in that. Pearl was great. That was I think the first time I was actually kind of like, oh, that gore is new. Like,
Oh,
the
really?
way they did gore, and it was like, I don't know if cool is a good way to say it, but
Just
it's like-
different, yeah.
yeah.
Right. Are you in general a horror movie fan?
Not necessarily, just because I feel like I'm really skeptical of horror movies. Because I really loved the TV show I mentioned, Haunting of Hill House. I like haunting sort of style shows like that, but I like that show because the plot is really great, and
Sure.
like I like the edgy sort of style thrillers and horror movies, but I'm generally not super scared, and I'm not interested in being scared through like gore or like the classic
Jump scares and stuff.
I guess I don't know if it's the jump scares, but like Freddy slasher, some
Yeah.
of those stuff. I feel like
You need more to your horror movies than just
a little
the,
bit.
the like psycho killer who's out to get everybody.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, everyone's probably gonna die anyways, and they somehow managed to survive through some weird circumstance. I think that's why I can be a little skeptical. But
Sure.
I generally like being thrilled in that sort of way. Like, I like the tension that brings.
Okay, so now we'll talk about the movies
Now we
that are most important to you. So, what's the first movie that you picked?
Okay, we'll start with Perks of Being a Wallflower. I know I dropped it a lot, but I had two movies in mind, but we'll start with that one.
Okay, and why? What about Perks of Being a Wallflower really makes it so important to you?
I think I saw it's a very coming of age movie, and I saw it at a time that I felt like was very coming of age in my life. I think I saw it as like a senior in high school. I learned there's the living room routine in the movie where like this brother and sister duo basically have this really funny dance routine in the middle of like a homecoming dance. And I mean, I feel like I was an angsty high schooler going through breakups and everything. And I feel like this I like read the book twice, I think, before ever even seeing the movie. And I think the person who wrote the book, Steven Chbosky, also directed, and he directed the movie. It's just like I feel like it very captures a part of my youth,
Sure.
in like a time capsule in a way. Music's great. There's actually, I think I've written 2 songs loosely inspired on just like watching those movies. I think one song was just like really pretty ambient. It was actually, there's a song on an EP called Velveteen. It's very obscure, and it's one of our least listened to songs just because it's all instrumental, but it's from that movie. And then on our newest album, there's a song called 10 that's now, it was originally this like guitar rockin' song that I wrote to kind of emulate some of the more teenage angst of that movie, but it's now a piano ballad. But yeah, I think it's just inspired a lot of art and creativity from me. So
But I don't know why Logan Lerman's not like a much bigger.
all right, I
star.
saw something recently about those 3 main actors, Ezra Miller, Logan Lerman, and Emma Watson, like where they are today. And
Yeah.
like Logan Lerman's like this like oh, what do they call him? Like basically he's a fox now because he's I mean he's a bit older, but he's a very attractive guy. Emma Watson has kind of disappeared from acting
Right.
a little bit, and then Ezra Miller's completely
Ezra.
gone off.
Yeah.
He's gone off the deep
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
It's a bit unfortunate because that might have been the first movie I saw Ezra Miller in, and really, really enjoyed them
Yeah.
in that performance. But you know,
I kept thinking
that's-
it was Shailene Woodley, not Emma Watson. But
yeah, it's Emma
Mhm.
Watson.
It's Emma
Oh,
Watson.
yeah.
Yeah. Which,
Speaking of celebrity crushes,
Hermione
Sha-
Granger.
Hermione
Yeah.
Granger. I'm surprised I actually didn't bring up any Harry Potter. I love those books and the movies that came with them.
That's refreshing. We had a guest who had never read the books and never seen the movies and seemed very disinterested in trying either of them, and we were really disappointed.
You know what? Actually, that is I obviously grew up with the movies, and my mom would read those books to me, mainly like the first two, because I would usually fall asleep, and then she would just like, keep reading it. But I
Mhm.
was a young kid; she would read those books to me, and I think I was a senior in high school, and I was starting to get more interested in like, oh, I think it would be really cool to like just learn the basics of like writing and stuff like that. And I read the whole series for the first time as a senior in high school,
Mhm.
and I mean, absolutely love those books. And I went to watch the movies, and I was like, these movies aren't that great as I remembered. Like, there's so much more. Like,
They get better as they go.
They do
Mhm.
get better as they go.
Yeah,
Like 1 and 2 are just kind of unwatchable.
Mhm.
yeah. But I mean, compared to the books, there's so much detail and life in those books that
Yeah,
it's just like, oh, this just feels like a little bit more like a diminished
that's
version.
all
Yeah.
how it always ends up, though. It's
It
like when
is.
you're in love with a book and then they make a movie about it. Rarely do they do it justice because your brain just like makes the book what it is, and it's never gonna
Right.
be as good as it is in your head as it is on screen.
Totally. Yeah, and it's I can only imagine how difficult it is to take this, I mean, 203 plus 100 book and condense it down into just 2 hours in a way
Mhm.
that's, and especially in a way that's more palatable towards audiences. One of my favorite like book writers is Neil Gaiman. He's done a lot of great like American Gods, Good Omens, more TV shows. He wrote Coraline.
Sandman, right?
Yep, he's doing Sandman.
Yeah.
He did a lot of comic books. I mean, very prolific writer. I think he, because a lot of his books have been converted to movies or TV shows, I think he said some things about just like the difficulty with that and how he appreciates like when people come up to him and when they're trying to do like a screenplay for it, almost kind of take their own vision with it, because it is hard to replicate a book into a movie. It's like, what I think he appreciates like the creativity of like, well, this is a completely different medium.
Mhm.
Let's maybe try this with these characters or this with this like kind of plot line because it just doesn't translate as
Right.
easily.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. What's Perks of Being a Wallflower? I feel like this is kind of a left turn with your next choice.
yeah. Obviously, if you don't know already, could tell from my previous answers, but Star Wars is very important. Just a series in general. I don't know if there's a specific movie. I grew up like probably popping the VHS tapes into my dad's office and watching those movies. But I am also a really big prequel. kid.
Mhm.
Like I.
That seems like those were the first ones you may have seen.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, definitely in theaters. Obviously,
Like, do you remember seeing the original trilogy before going to see those, or did you start with the prequels?
I must have had some reference in mind when I went to see the prequels in theater, because I remember when the third movie, which was at the time like that was going to be the last thing that came out in the Star Wars sort of saga. I do remember just like probably even like still in my diapers, like some like little memories of watching Return of the Jedi,
Mhm.
which is now episode 6 of the series, and just like watching that on rerun, just like maniacally
Mhm.
taking all that in. So then when I went to see some of the newer stuff in theaters, I think I had some context of
Yeah.
what that was, but yeah, I don't necessarily know why I like it so much, but I mean, I've like both my parents are very like fantasy sci-fi. Even as like a middle schooler, my dad would be watching Star Trek reruns, and I'd be like just like hang out with him. Same with Battlestar Galactica, a lot of these sci-fi kind of classic TV shows. So I feel like that genre in general was a big part of my my adolescence, and
you would have been the right age for the prequels too, I imagine. So like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was born in '97, so episode 1, 99, then 2003, and then 2000.
5, I think, was the third movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, sounds right.
something like that.
Can I ask how you would rank at least the 6?
Yeah, I would say it's funny. I feel like culturally, episode 1 has been the most like pull back and forth. But there's a lightsaber scene. I think that's one of the best lightsaber scenes. Like Darth Maul, who's this red and black face like alien guy with horns, comes out with the double lightsaber.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, no one's ever seen this before. And just this general faster pace sort of lightsaber fighting. I think that's just so cool. I think there is some moments with this CGI in it that you kind of try to like remove yourself from, but I remember seeing some of those scenes in theaters and be like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's a very like it's a evolving relationship with those, because you see the original ones and it's like slower fighting and it's more like dialogue based, but I don't know, they're just very different kind of contexts, where it's the original are it's almost like sparring, and then the new ones it's fun to see the evolution of it all and be able to love them all for different reasons.
Sure.
I don't even feel like any of the new Star Wars stuff they've made in the last 10 years is as exciting fight sequence wise as what they made in the prequels. Like even now when you see a lightsaber fight like with Kylo and Rey, like I was just kind of like, this is kind of boring. Like I'd much rather see Darth Maul.
Yeah. I think The Last Jedi has the Red Room scene that's really cool, but that was the first and only one that even
there was
came
just
to
so
mind.
much going on in that, like just because there was multiple people fighting in that scene. I feel like the one-on-ones that we had with like Darth Maul, like just the way that, I don't know, the detail that went into
or even the
kind of
Yoda
that
fight in
combat
episode
was
2
pretty
is-
awesome. Yeah.
I will say, rewatching that Yoda fight in episode 2 is not as exciting, because it's just like it's just almost comical. He's just flying around, and somehow they're clashing sabers. Episode 3, though, is also
Totally.
there's just so much emotion in
a
that.
very specific memory
Yeah.
of watching that Yoda fight, because I was with one of my very good friends who's also a star. Like we had been sending each other stuff like constantly for like the whole year of like, oh, did you see about this behind the scenes picture? So we got to see it together, and he leaned over and he's like, is Yoda gonna fight? And I was like, I think so. And we could not breathe for a good 3 minutes. So like that it was like a distinct memory of being in the theater. Is Yoda gonna fight?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's even outside of those, one of my favorite Star Wars movies, which I don't know, some people would argue might not be like a Star Wars movies, is Rogue One.
Love Rogue One.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I think you need the context of all of those movies to feel the weight of that movie. But yeah.
The end. The
Well,
Darth
yeah,
Vader,
the Darth
that
Vader
was
thing
so
was-
cool.
Yeah. Rogue One is pretty great, and now they have the like prequel series going on right now, which I haven't started yet, but we'll do.
We're gonna get there.
We're gonna get there.
Yeah,
There's a lot of shows right now.
I won't, but have fun.
I'm glad like you were willing to admit that.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like there was a time like maybe 2 years ago where you're like, yeah, I'm gonna get around to that, and then you just
I
wouldn't.
just, I don't
Chris-
have time.
I'm glad.
Chris
No, that's
isn't
good.
as much into the
That's
Star
really good,
Wars
Chris.
Marvel
You've
stuff.
evolved.
Although I will, but the originals had a huge impact on my life.
Yeah.
But then the prequels did not.
I
So
know.
to each their own. You know? Everyone has a different.
You don't have to watch everything, and you don't have to like everything too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I guess
I didn't love all the J.J. Abrams ones. They were fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any like hardcore like Marvel fans?
Justin and
Justin.
I am.
Yeah.
This is how we rank. Like Justin's
Yeah.
like I know everything that's going on in the Marvel world. I'm like, I love them and I know most of what's going on, but I'm not as hardcore as Justin. Chris is like the lower level. He's seen some of them but doesn't care that much.
Gotcha.
So.
So are you excited about the new sort of the rollout?
Oh, absolutely. I'm just kind of there for any of it now, and I'm like, whenever something new comes out and people are saying they don't like it, sometimes my expectations are lowered, but I also like I'm just the right audience. I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, I think I put too much pressure on myself to be like, oh my gosh, I'm like so far behind.
Yeah.
Like the movies I have seen, I don't know if I remember enough for me to like fully appreciate them, but I think I'm just like, no, I need to just go in and watch the ones that interest me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, now that's what you kind of have to do
They're
now, which
making
is
it hard.
hard.
Yeah.
With the Disney Plus stuff, because
Yeah,
you feel
the
like you have to
series.
watch it to keep track of the movies, which I wish they wouldn't have done because I don't want to watch all the Disney Plus stuff necessarily.
Yeah.
I have no desire to watch She-Hulk.
She-Hulk is fun, though.
I'm probably not going to watch it.
But, like-
if it like leads into another Marvel movie that
Yeah.
I really do want to see, I'm like,
Kind of
do I
like
have to watch this?
WandaVision was really important
Yeah.
to the Doctor Strange movie, and
Sure.
so, yeah.
I mean, that's what I think what Star Wars has done so great. Like, I have seen as much of the extra TV shows, like they had the anime series, which was great, but you don't really need to watch them to fully
Right.
enjoy it. I like being able to kind of nerd out and be like, well, did you know this is connected to this in this series?
You're like the canon geek who like knows all the Star Wars canon.
A little bit, but then I talk to people who actually are. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I know
Oh,
nothing.
yeah.
People,
I
because
mean-
there's the books, but then when Disney acquired
Yeah.
Star Wars, then those books became not canon,
Yeah.
and so now the new ones are. It's
Yeah.
Well, they have a whole cartoon series. What is it? The Rebels or something like that?
Oh,
there's
right.
Rebels,
Like,
the Clone Wars
yeah,
series.
track of all that stuff.
Even on mine with Marvel stuff, I have a friend who is way more knowledgeable about the comics themselves because I read comics more casually and was didn't follow them all the time.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm geeking out about the Marvel movies and dropping information or whatever, and he's like, well, in the comics, they blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, Derek, I got it. Well, Pierce, thanks so much for
Thanks, Pierce.
coming on and nerding out about Star Wars with us. If anybody picks Star Wars as something that's important to them, it's an automatic in for us. At least for me and Sarah, maybe not for Chris. But
I mean,
I'm just here to have fun.
yeah.
but this is really nice, and be sure to check out the greeting committee. The tour's coming up. The closest, because you guys performed in Kansas City fairly recently, but you
Yes.
will be like in St. Louis.
We will be in St. Louis. We try to play 2 solid Kansas City shows a year, so we kind of are past that. But hopefully look forward to topping next year as far as next greeting committee show.
Cool. Thanks, Pierce.
Yeah, thanks
I'm a
guys.
fan.
Yeah.